Welcome to our exploration of the Mufe classification scheme. Today, we're going to break down how physicists classify different types of matter in the universe based on how they interact with fundamental forces. Think of this as a friendly conversation over coffee about how the universe works at its most basic level. Before we dive into the classification system, let's first understand the 5 fundamental forces or effects that govern our universe. First, we have electromagnetism, or EM for short. This is the force responsible for electricity, magnetism, and light. It's why your refrigerator magnets stick and why you can see. Next is the strong nuclear force. This force holds atomic nuclei together, overcoming the electromagnetic repulsion between positively charged protons. Then there's the weak nuclear force. This is responsible for certain types of radioactive decay and plays a role in nuclear reactions like those in the sun. Fourth is gravity. While it's the most familiar force in our daily lives, keeping us on Earth and the planets orbiting the sun, it's actually the weakest fundamental force at the particle level. Finally, we have the cosmological constant, represented by lambda. This is related to dark energy and the expansion of the universe. Now, let's introduce the core idea of the Mufe classification. Imagine each type of matter in the universe has a switchboard with 5 switches, one for each fundamental force. Each switch can be either on, represented by 1, or off, represented by 0. If a switch is on, it means that type of matter interacts with that particular force. If the switch is off, it doesn't interact with that force at all. Mathematically, we represent this with indicator functions chi sub I, which equal 1 if the matter interacts with force I, and 0 if it doesn't. The total force experienced by a type of matter, which we call F sub Mufe, is simply the sum of all the forces where the corresponding switch is on. Now, let's look at the 3 main types of cosmic stuff and their unique fingerprint vectors. First, we have ordinary or luminous matter. That's us stars, planets, and everything we can directly observe. Ordinary matter has a fingerprint vector of 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. This means it interacts with electromagnetism, which is why we can see it. It interacts with the strong and weak nuclear forces, which govern its atomic behavior. And it interacts with gravity, keeping us grounded. However, it doesn't directly interact with the cosmological constant at our scale. Next, we have dark matter with a fingerprint of 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. Dark matter only interacts with gravity. It doesn't interact with electromagnetism, which is why we can't see it. Light passes right through it. It also doesn't interact with the strong or weak forces, making it incredibly difficult to detect directly. But we know it exists because of its gravitational effects on galaxies. Finally, there's dark energy with a fingerprint of 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. Dark energy only interacts through the cosmological constant. It doesn't interact with any of the other forces, making it even more mysterious than dark matter. Its effect is seen only at the largest cosmic scales, driving the accelerating expansion of the universe. Let's visualize how these 3 types of matter interact with the forces. Here's ordinary matter. Notice how it interacts with electromagnetic, strong, weak, and gravitational forces. This is why it forms atoms, emits light, undergoes nuclear reactions, and clumps together into stars and planets. Dark matter, on the other hand, only interacts with gravity. This is why it can form large halos around galaxies, influencing their rotation, but doesn't emit or absorb light. And finally, dark energy only interacts through the cosmological constant, creating a repulsive effect that pushes the universe apart at the largest scales. The next critical piece of the Mufe scheme is understanding the coupling strengths of each force. Think of coupling strength as the volume knob for each force. What's fascinating is that these strengths span an incredible 123 orders of magnitude. That's a 1 followed by 123 zeros. Let's look at them from strongest to weakest. The strong nuclear force has a coupling strength of about 0.1 to 1. This is like a booming drum. Extremely powerful, but only works at tiny distances inside atomic nuclei. Electromagnetism has a strength of about 1/137, or roughly 0.007. Think of this as a moderately loud guitar, not as strong as the strong force, but noticeable and works over longer distances. The weak nuclear force has a strength of about 10 to the negative 5, or 0.00001. This is like a faint whisper, only relevant in specific nuclear processes like radioactivity. Gravity has a strength of about 5 times 10 to the negative 39, an incredibly tiny number. At the particle level, gravity is absurdly weak, like a barely audible hum, but it adds up for large objects, and is the only force that dark matter feels. Finally, the cosmological constant has a strength of about 10 to the negative 123, mind-bogglingly small. Yet it drives the universe's expansion because it acts uniformly across vast cosmic distances. Now, let's put all these pieces together to see the big picture of the Mufe classification scheme. The Mufe scheme gives us a compact way to understand how different components of the universe interact with fundamental forces. First, it uses indicator functions, our switchboard, to tell us which forces affect a given type of matter. Second, it assigns each type of cosmic stuff a unique fingerprint vector, showing exactly which forces it responds to. Third, it accounts for the vastly different strengths of these forces, explaining why certain forces dominate in different contexts. This elegant framework helps us understand why ordinary matter forms stars and planets, why dark matter creates invisible halos around galaxies, and why dark energy drives the universe's expansion. It's a powerful tool that brings clarity to the complex ways that the different stuff in our universe behaves. In conclusion, the Mufe classification scheme gives us a powerful framework for understanding the universe's components. By considering which forces each type of matter interacts with, and how strongly we gain insights into why these components behave so differently despite existing in the same universe. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the fundamental structure of our universe. The next time you look up at the stars, remember that there's so much more than meets the eye: dark matter and dark energy working alongside ordinary matter, each responding to its own unique set of forces.